we are not waiting until the next legislative session or the next election to push back against the far-right extreme policies coming out of the state legislature.
This is not a fight back tour. This is not a touch tour.
This morning on Inside Kansas Politics, Democrats are taking aim at Republicans after a heated legislative session. How they're fighting back ahead of next year's election.
Plus, new laws are helping our military family succeed. An expert weighs in on what to know moving forward. And
Hail Satan!
a Satanic Grotto leader Michael Stewart being hauled away by police, a satanic ritual leading to a fight at the Capitol 2 months ago. And now more protests are coming.
And that is where we started this morning. You're taking a look at Inside Kansas Politics. Welcome in. I'm Rob Hughes.
And I'm Rebecca Chung. I spoke exclusively with Stewart about the group's next steps and why the Shawnee County DA says the case isn't closed just yet.
You confess my past.
A shocking moment from a black mass at the Kansas State House back in March. Satanic Grotto leader Michael Stewart was slapped in handcuffs along with several others. But that's not stopping him from planning his next protest. You said that you have other events that you're going to be planning here at the Capitol.
Yes, that's what we're working on. We're going to set in a permit here pretty soon for what I like to call the witching hour protest. We will be showing up here at midnight, and we will be inviting not just Satanists, but pagans, Wiccans.
Stewart and some of his group members were arrested on charges of disorderly conduct and unlawful gathering. On Wednesday, Shawnee County District Attorney Mike Kage said he hasn't decided if he'll file charges. But Stewart says they're not being charged. So what's the update?
So we actually just went to court this morning, and no charges are being pursued against me or the other two members of the group that got arrested with me that day. So that's a nice outcome.
Okay. Did they tell you why?
No, they did not. All they told me is that it still had a 5-year statute of limitations. And I think they did that to, hold something over us. Try to persuade us from not causing trouble inside the Capitol.
The Black Mass in March sparked controversy, getting pushback from Catholics and other Christian groups. It also ignited a debate over freedom of speech and expression. As for the purpose of these new protests that you're going to be doing, what is the
goal behind this new one, I think, is to start getting solidarity between these fringe religions and groups here in Kansas that might feel isolated and feel like they don't have any power on their own.
Stewart says he's releasing more information on the next protest in the coming days. Reporting in Topeka, I'm Rebecca Chung.
And joining us now, our political analyst, Bob Beatty. And Bob, all right, here we go again. What do you think's going to happen with these new protests?
Well, it's always something in Kansas, isn't it? But yeah, what was interesting is the previous protest had the Satanists sort of violating the order, and they went into the State House. And then, if you watch the video, you were there, of course.
Yes.
You saw some people there that were upset that he was starting to say things and sort of slap at him and almost attack him, and then he responded. So I do wonder if it's hard for the DA sort of to figure how much was he responding to an attack, really. So he clearly did violate the order. He could have been, charged with trespassing, but the part about disorderly conduct maybe is dubious. The key, I think, for his future protests, and he sort of alluded to this, is don't violate, the orders that he can't go in the State House. Do it on the State House grounds where he can get a permit. And then if it turns violent or something of that nature, it would have to be somebody probably attacking him because he'd be legally on the grounds. So we'll have to see if it gets out of hand again. But I think the key for the Satanists and Mr. Stewart would be to really not try to respond or initiate any sort of violent acts and I hate to say this, but let other people do it if it's going to happen.
Yeah, and also have to see if this generates as much attention as last time. We talked about the debate over freedom of speech and expression, also the separation of church and state, just some of the topics playing a role in this. But then we also have some people who were thinking maybe this was all just for show. I asked him about that, so let's take a listen. When we talked with some of the people that were there that day, some of the counter-protesters or religious groups that came out, they were saying that this could have possibly been performative almost, and this wasn't real. This wasn't something that you guys would actually want to do. Then some asking, whether this was more of a political statement just for show. Do you actually believe in Satanism? What are your thoughts on that?
I would like those people to know that we actually performed that ritual in private for all of our members less than a month after the Capitol incident on Walpurgisnacht, which is a high Sabbath for Satanists. We absolutely believe in our religion and in our philosophy and what we do, and we celebrate it, not just here performatively for show for everyone, which you could argue a part of this was, but we do deeply believe it, and we performed it for ourselves entirely and in full for those who wanted to show up and see it. And we had a good night.
Now, as for what he wants to see done next legislative session, I also asked him about that, and he says he wants to see prayers performed by people other than Christians to open up the session day. And we saw a lot of that in these past legislative sessions, Bob.
Yeah, the Supreme Court of the United States has actually ruled on that, this idea that some people argue it's not constitutional for Christian prayers to be said in Congress or in, a state house like Kansas. And the Supreme Court has said actually it's okay, that there's actually historical roots for prayer to start legislative sessions going back to 1774 in the Constitutional Congress. And what the Supreme Court said, as long as those prayers are not coercive, as long as those prayers aren't saying, this is a Christian prayer and everyone has to be Christian in this room, the Supreme Court said it's okay. So it's based on history and non-coerciveness. So I'm not so sure he'll make much headway in trying to get a satanic prayer, for example, said at the start of a Kansas legislative session.
All right, well, thanks so much.
Sure.
I appreciate it. Well, coming up, we got more, including this.
What's happening in our community, because it's trickled down and nationally, is not okay.
Democrats are fighting back after falling to Republicans this year. They plan to boost their numbers before the next election.
And it's official, a Kansas City Royals affiliate buying the old Sprint campus in Overland Park. What this could mean for stadium talks as they're on the hunt for their new home.
This is absolutely essential to military families who are wanting to decide whether or not Kansas is going to be one of the places that they put down on their preference list.
And new laws are helping our military families in Kansas. What you need to know about the long-awaited changes. We'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
Briggs Auto Group, locally owned since 1979. We're proud to be your trusted dealership, standing by fair and transparent pricing with no surprise fees. Our sales professionals are trained, non-commissioned experts, focused on helping find the right vehicle and not just making a sale. Come experience our first-class care before and after the purchase. Come see us at Briggs Auto Group, where trust matters and customers are number one.
Hey, look what's going on at Briggs Auto. Briggs!
This week's Pets in Need Spotlight is Kato. Kato is an 11-month-old hound dog mix. He loves to play with other dogs, is house-trained, knows sit and shake, and does well with children. You can meet Kato at Helping Hands Humane Society.
Now is your chance to visit the 2025 St. Jude Dream Home. This beautiful home built by Drippé Homes in Aquarian Acres is now open for free tours. Come see the house and reserve your $100 ticket today. Visit KSNT.com for details and directions.
Next, Kelly, photocopy. What have you been doing, though, since you've left today?
Now I wake up at 4:30.
That is the saddest news ever.
Monday at 3 on 27 KSNT.
Please join us for our annual German Fest celebration on the Sacred Heart Church grounds. Come celebrate with friends and family and enjoy all the delicious homemade German food you love. There's also a beer garden, live music with the Chardon Polka Band, kids activities, and a variety of booths, plus drawings for cash prizes. Don't miss out on this fun event to support Sacred Heart St. Joseph Parish. Join us June 7th and 8th at German Fest.
They have the ability to put pressure on other suitors for a Major League Baseball stadium.
The Kansas City Royals confirming that a business affiliated with the team has bought the old Sprint campus in Overland Park.
This comes as Missouri is starting to work on their stadium deal to keep both the Chiefs and Royals on their side of the state line this week. But will they stay or will they go? Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. Bob Beatty here with us now. And Bob, what do you think?
Oh, wow. There's a lot going on here for sure. But, one of the things that's been interesting is how tight-lipped the Royals and the Chiefs have been over these last few months. So let's set the table. Let's check what the score is, right, Rob, about all of this. Remember a year ago that Kansas offered star bonds for up to $1 billion for either team to fund a stadium, and by the way, also practice facilities. And Missouri has been, well, they haven't done anything. Missouri's done nothing. So it's been sitting there for Kansas. They offered to the Chiefs and the Royals. This is sort of a really fascinating indication. The Royals buying land in Kansas, in Overland Park. Would we see an OP instead of the KC on the hat? No, we won't, but it's fun to think about. We know that the Chiefs are interested in a dome stadium, which could cost up to $3 billion. That's serious big time money. And we also know that Kansas has been unified, the legislature, in presenting their plan a year ago, and they've stuck by it, and they'll probably renew it, whereas Missouri has been, no offense to any Missourians just happening to watch, dithering for a year. So even if Missouri passes something in the next week or so, it took them a year to do it. And I think the Royals and the Chiefs have to at least consider that. Is this going to be a dependable partner, Missouri, going forward with funding something that could cost up to $3 billion? So right now, I'm leaning toward, I think Kansas has a little bit of advantage in getting at least one of the teams.
Yeah, we've got the edge, right?
We got the edge because it's a very attractive and unified offer, whereas Missouri is still fractured and hasn't even passed anything yet.
Yeah.
And we love our sports teams, but at the end of the day, it's a business, right? And we're kind of seeing
for sure.
And let's be honest, the Kansans and Missourians will go to the game.
Yes, exactly.
It's going to be close.
Exactly. Yeah, good point. All right, thanks so much, Bob. We do want to turn now to the campaign trail. Now, candidates are already hitting the road for next year's election, and Kansas House Democrats are taking action, kicking off their first Fight Back tour in Topeka.
Yeah, Democrats are trying to sway voters ahead of next year's election, and for them, this could be a make or break moment. The party needs to pick up at least 5 seats in the House to break the Republican supermajority.
Now, this year, GOP lawmakers were able to pass legislation without a lot of pushback. Republicans did have their way when it came to issues such as taxes and education, and we spoke with both parties about their goals heading into next year's election.
We know our statewide candidates next year are going to be talking to donors, talking to folks in more populous areas. We want to go listen to the people who are doing the work at the ground level and getting them fired up.
The Kansas Republican Party is going door to door. We're talking to local school boards, city councils, county commissioners, and what they are going to do to get them elected.
There's a lot at stake. Republicans say they're focused on taking back the governor's seat this year.
Indeed, Democratic Governor Laura Kelly vetoed several Republican-backed bills this year. Kelly's reached her term limit and will not be eligible for re-election in 2026.
Now, Bob, when it comes to the governor's race, though, even Democrats acknowledged when we were speaking with them that history would show that it's likely that a Republican would be picked in this race. However, does this turn up the heat a little bit when it comes to some of these House races? Do you think they'll be successful in breaking that supermajority?
Well, you know, I heard some of the Democrats talk, and we also heard from the Republican there that they want to talk about local issues. But we know that national forces are so important. What is it that Democrats are many Democrats are very frustrated about right now? It's Donald Trump. You know, of course, they're just not happy with some of the things that he's doing and there's a frustration nationally and in Kansas among Democrats that there's this helplessness. What is the party going to do? And I think that's part of what the Kansas Democrats are doing by going on the road is just to address that. Hey, we're listening to you, we're hearing it, we're going to do something, we're going to be working on this. So what we may see, we don't know yet, because in a year from now, it could be a completely different scenario than it is now. Right now, Donald Trump's approval ratings are 44% approve, 51% not approve. So not horrific for him, but it could get worse. And if that's the case, there's going to be more Democrats and independents motivated to vote. So I think it is an important thing for the Democrats to do this, to go out and travel the state and just to show their supporters, hey, that they're there for them. What they'll have to do in 6 months, 8 months, 10 months is reach out to those independents, people beyond their supporters, try to convince them to get those 5 seats.
All right, and really quick, let's touch on a couple lawsuits that came up this week. We're also talking about one big one that bans gender-affirming care. Some parents upset about that. So, Bob, really quick, let's talk about that one.
Well, you know, that's a lawsuit, of course, yes, trying to overturn the ban on gender-affirming care for minors. And where I think they're inspired to do this is that in Ohio, a district court actually did overturn a very similar ban, saying that it, quote, interferes with parents' fundamental rights to care for their children. And I think this has inspired the litigants here in Kansas to think that it's possible a Kansas court could also do the same thing.
All right, Bob, thank you so much.
I appreciate it, Bob. Well, when we come back, I sat down with a military expert to talk about the new laws going into effect to help those that have served our country.
We'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
It's Memorial Day madness at the Mattress Hub, and now's the time to save big.
All the best brands in sleep up to $1,000 off with hot buys from $299. Or instant savings with Tempur-Pedic or Purple mattress and no interest financing for up to 60 months. Only at the Mattress Hub.
Summer's here, and with the new Toyota, you can go here, surf's up, here, woo, and here.
Celebrate summer with the new Toyota Tundra. Right now, lease the new 2025 Tundra for just $469 a month, or get 1.99% APR financing for 48 months on Tundra. Come in today.
Your summer starts here and just keeps on going.
Toyota, let's go places.
It's Champion Windows Anniversary Sale, and we're gifting the presents to you with 40% off Comfort 365 windows. Now's the time to upgrade your old windows that are driving up your energy bills. For over 72 years, Champion has built and installed high-quality windows for our customers, all with a lifetime warranty. With so many styles, colors, and options to choose from, you'll be loving your home all over again. Champion's 40% off Anniversary Sale won't last long. Call 888-4CHAMPION or schedule your free estimate online now.
Saturday, June 14th, live from Mexico City. The danger will be high.
Oh, we got a crash!
And the racing will be right on the edge. The NASCAR Xfinity Series, Saturday, June 14th from Mexico City at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific.
27 News is proud to be part of Northeast Kansas and the surrounding communities. We stay close to the roots of Northeast Kansas, and our team is deeply rooted in the community.
With our 27 News brand working for you, we celebrate the good happening in our community and hold the powerful accountable.
And when severe weather threatens, the 27 News Storm Track weather team is quickly online and on air to give you advance warning.
27 News, proud to be working for Northeast Kansas, working for you.
Welcome back to Inside Kansas Politics. We're talking about new laws taking effect in Kansas, and they're all about helping military families.
Yeah, I sat down with retired Army paratrooper and public affairs officer Chase Spears to get his take on the changes. Joining us now, retired Army paratrooper Dr. Chase Spears. Chase, also public affairs officer during your time in uniform. Thanks for your service, Chase, and thanks for joining us this morning. Really appreciate it. Now, Chase, we've got a number of House bills that were passed in the Kansas State House that are helping our military servicemen and women and their families. Now, we're talking about 2069. This is a House bill that allows military spouses to keep professional licenses when they move to different states. Also, we're going to talk about House Bill 2102. Now, this helps military kids who have to switch schools during the many moves you make during an active duty military career every couple of years, right? And then House Bill 2185. This is a good thing for our Kansas National Guard because it expands educational benefits to families as well. So a lot of great things coming out of the Kansas State House. Chase, let's start with 2069. Tell us a little bit about this House bill and what it does and why it's important.
Yeah, this is absolutely essential to military families who are wanting to decide whether or not Kansas is going to be one of the places that they put down on their preference list. We move every 2 to 3 years in the military, and a lot of people who are outside the military don't understand that even though we go wherever the military tells us to go, on the active duty side, you still get to put in sort of a wish list, if you will. In the Army, we have a system where you actually rank jobs 1 through 20, and there's a competition for where you're going to go. And military families, they look at things like what opportunities might be available in the state for my spouse, or if my wife or a husband is a physician or a counselor, what states would have license reciprocity. So this is a really good move. I applaud the legislature on getting this through because it makes Kansas a more competitive place. When people are looking at whether they want to come to Kansas or maybe they want to go to Florida, they're going to be looking at a lot of things, including, hey, can my spouse transfer their license easily? And this bill bill makes it much easier to do that.
Yeah, and I know this has been going on a long time, this discussion, and it's so good to see this happen, Chase, so spouses don't have to restart their career or get a new license every time they move.
Absolutely. I mean, this wasn't something that affected my family directly, but I know a lot of people who it did, and I cannot imagine if every time I moved, I had to start all over on a complex, expensive licensing process. I mean, that would preclude people from wanting to move. And when we look at the overall economic development of Kansas and anything that we can do to not only make service members who are getting out stay here, which I know the legislature is trying to get after that, but everything that we can do to make Kansas a more attractive place for people to want to come. And this bill does just that. I mean, it gives, it enters Kansas into a compact specifically for people who have licensing in school psychology, dietitians, cosmetologists, even physician's assistants. And it makes people with those high specialty skills a lot more eager to maybe come to the Sunflower State, and that's a great thing.
Well said. Maybe it'll help retention too, because you know the spouse can keep that license. Awesome. I love it. Thanks so much, Chase. Let's move on and talk about 2102. Now, this helps military kids who have to switch schools during their many moves, and like you mentioned, I mean, you're moving all over the country, all over the world during a career, and it's got to be difficult for the kids to continue, start the education. So tell us about this and why this is such a good thing.
Military life is so complex, and there's so many reasons why, but this is one of them. If you have school-aged children, you have to think about, okay, every 2 to 3 years, my children are moving to a different school district. Not only that, there are a lot of people who move during the winter, on winter cycles, so there are a lot of families leaving, pulling up roots in December, January, which is even more complex. And under the old way of doing things, if a military family was PCSing into Kansas, they had to be here physically present before they could enroll their kids in the local school system. This bill, 2102, allows them to, with orders, reach out to the school districts ahead of time and say, look, here's the documentation showing we will be there in the state of Kansas by the start of the school year, and it lets them pre-register, go ahead and get the plans set for their kids to get into the school. Again, so it's just one more thing that makes Kansas one of the states that's a little more seamly for people to come into it. It reduces some of the frictions for people who are wanting to PCS in. And so again, everything that makes this place more desirable for military families and reduces the frictions for military families is a good thing.
And as we know, Chase, I mean, 2 major military installations here for the Army, Fort Riley, Fort Leavenworth. So it's such a good thing to hear that, and it just eases that burden on military families and the kids who are trying to get their education done when they're, I like to say military families serve too, the spouses and the kids. And that's a way to get back to them.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's something that helps the kids to know ahead of time, okay, now I know my school, I know where I'm going. The parents aren't having to think while they're moving, while they're uprooting the households, while they're dealing with movers, while they're dealing with whatever weather, depending on what time of year they're moving. This is one less thing they have to worry about. And having moved many times from my military career, I can tell you, everything that you can take off my plate during that move is welcome news.
It's got to be such a stressful time. I'm glad to hear that this is just one less thing families have to deal with who serve our country. And we'll be right back. You're watching Inside Kansas Politics.
I really never thought that I would be in an accident like I was, especially involving a semi-truck. It changed my entire life. Richard and Devon James, they didn't let me give up, and they kept pushing. What I ended up with was just mind-blowing and life-changing, and I'm forever grateful for what they did for me. I'm Melissa, and I'm an actual client of Devon James.
Established in 2005, Sardo Countertops opened to transform houses into homes and to provide exquisite service throughout the Midwest. The result is a true masterpiece for your home.
After 17 years, the NASCAR Xfinity Series roars back into Mexico. And it's not coming quietly. Saturday, June 14th, live from Mexico City.
Oh my gosh, these fans are amazing.
The tempers will be hot.
Let's go.
The danger will be high.
Oh, we got a crash!
And the racing will be right on the edge. The NASCAR Xfinity Series, Saturday, June 14th from Mexico City at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific on the CW.
Hi, I'm David George here in the 2025 St. Jude Dream Home, which could be yours if you reserve your ticket. And don't wait. If you reserve your ticket by June 5th, you're eligible to win the house and a $2,500 gift certificate for Sutherland's. Visit KSNT.com or call 800-846-2640 to reserve your chance to win for only $100. Help us sell all 7,000 tickets to support the life-saving mission of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, finding cures, saving children.
We're continuing now with more from that interview with retired Army paratrooper Chase Spears.
And I talked to them about how changes not only at the state level but also at the federal level could help with military recruitment. So let's move on and talk about 2185. Now, this expands Kansas National Guard benefits to families. We just mentioned how the family serves too. I really love this one because it could be good for both retention and perhaps recruiting as well, because the benefits extend to the families. Can you tell us about this one?
I love this bill. You probably know that. I'm a little bit of a nerd. Some people buy boats. I have a lot of books, and I've been to school probably one too many times.
What is Dr. Spears like to say?
But this actually helps Kansas to, in some ways, almost mirror the post 9/11 GI Bill that those of us who are on the active side are able to enjoy. And so under the old Montgomery GI Bill, that only applied to the service member, and that was a wonderful benefit. But when they opened that up after 9/11 and said, hey, if you actually want to transfer some of these benefits to your dependents, to a wife, to a husband, to a child, we will allow you to do that. And Kansas and the National Guard, of course, has a similar benefit program. My son, who's in the National Guard, has used it for when he did his undergrad. It was a wonderful program. It still is a wonderful program. And this allows National Guard members to actually take unused portions of their educational benefit, and just like in the post 9/11 GI Bill, transfer them to dependents, so that, you know, if you have a spouse who wants to go on to school, or you have a child who's responsible and wants to go on to school, and you don't plan on using that benefit and you've got leftover, you can gift it to them. I mean, just think about what a great retention tool that is. If you have someone in the Guard and they know that, hey, if I continue serving, I can actually allow my loved ones to get an education with these benefits. I mean, that's a huge morale enhancer, and it's good for the state, it's good for the Guard, it's good for retention all around. Full thumbs up from me.
Awesome, I appreciate it, Chase. And of course, with rising cost of college, I mean, anything helps, right?
Everything helps.
Yeah. All right, well, I've got my hand here, a memo, Chase, not the actual one, but it's from Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. Now, he has put out a memorandum to ask agencies to increase services for homeschooling. The statistics are pretty incredible. The percentage of military families who homeschool, like we mentioned, because you're moving all over the place, going to different schools. Tell us a little bit about this, your thoughts on why this is important and what it does.
Well, this one is the closest to my heart of all of them. As you know, I'm a homeschooling father of 5. I was raised as a homeschooled child. A lot of my friends and professionals I associate with were homeschoolers. So anything that we can do to make it easier for people to homeschool, I am fully on board with. What a lot of people don't think about is roughly, the statistics I looked at yesterday is roughly 6% of households with school children in them choose to homeschool. It's nearly double for the military, and there are a few reasons for that. One gets to the transient nature of our lifestyle, like we discussed. I remember when Lori and I got married, and I told her, hey, I want to be a homeschooling family. And she originally didn't like that idea. She said, hey, I want to send our kids to private school, and I was like, hey, that works too. I just love homeschooling. And then when I joined the Army, she said, now we really need to be a homeschool family, because I don't have to pull my children out of school systems every 2 to 3 years and get them reintroduced and reacquainted and risk them having to retake certain classes. Let's just make it streamlined and they get a common educational experience throughout. And it was wonderful for us, because we could even, during our moves, we could make it educational and pass by battlefields and do all this American history on the drive. And so, and I'll give you one anecdote from our personal experience where I think this might come in helpful. When we moved out of Alaska at the end of 2016, I went to the transportation office and I talked to them about my professional gear weight allowance. Now, for your viewers, when you're in the military, you have a lot of professional gear. A lot of it's soldier gear that you accumulate, your vest and your flick and all that stuff that you got to carry from one location to another. But they also say, hey, if your spouse works, if your spouse has a physician or whatever, and they have equipment that is required to do that job, the weight of that equipment doesn't count. Set those boxes aside. We don't count that in your overall weight, so it doesn't count against you. So I went to the transportation office and I said, hey, we have a certain amount of weight of materials that are directly related to our homeschooling. My wife is a stay-at-home teacher, and this is her vocation. And they said, no, we don't count that. You're on your own. That was a lifestyle choice that you made. And to this day, I disagree with that and think that was just absolutely the wrong answer. And so that's one of the things that I would love to see the Defense Department get after. I mean, that's an easy way to immediately give just a little bit of support to homeschooling families, because we really do pay twice to educate. And so it's the right thing for the military to look at, hey, how do we better support these families who are supporting the nation?
And that was your look inside Kansas politics. We'll see you next Sunday, same time, same place.
Have a great day.